So let's talk about something you probably never expected, the history of Jewish life in Greenland. Yeah, Greenland. We're going to dive into this really surprising story from one of the most remote places on Earth. It's a tale that stretches from the age of sail all the way to the space age, and it starts with a single, solitary number.
1. In a country of over 56,000 people, the entire permanent Jewish population of Greenland is just one person. It's a pretty stark figure, and when you hear it, it immediately makes you wonder,
Right? Was it always like this? How's the Jewish presence in this huge, icy landscape always been the story of just a single individual? Well, the answer is this fascinating journey back in time, full of unexpected communities and absolutely incredible stories of faith and resilience.
So who is the man behind that number? His name is Paul Cohen, and since 2001, he has been the only Jewish resident of Greenland. He lives in the southern town of Narsak, where he works as a translator.
What's wild is that even in his total isolation, Cohen has become this unlikely point of connection. He's mentioned that Jewish travelers, looking for a link to their heritage, somehow always manage to track him down. His remote home has become this unexpected landmark. But here's the thing, this story of one man is actually the end of a much longer history. To really understand it, we've got to go back to the Cold War.
We're jumping back to the mid-20th century. This was a time when Greenland played this huge strategic role during the Cold War. And it's right here, in the high Arctic, that we find the largest Jewish community in Greenland's entire history.
The story of this community really kicks off in 1941. At the time, Denmark was occupied by Germany, so an agreement was made that allowed the U.S. to build military bases on Greenland. The most important of these was the Thule Air Base. From its earliest days, Jewish American servicemen were stationed there, but it was in the 1950s that their presence grew into something truly remarkable.
And get this, at its peak, there were more than 50 Jewish servicemen stationed at Thule at any given time. And this wasn't just a collection of individuals. No, they formed a genuine, functioning community in one of the world's most extreme environments.
This fact led historian Vilhjalmur Ern Vilhelmsen to a pretty amazing conclusion. Thule had the northernmost minyan in the world. So a minyan, that's the quorum of 10 Jewish adults that's required for public prayer. Having one meant they could hold full religious services, establishing a complete Jewish spiritual life closer to the North Pole than any community before or since. Just think about that.
And this community was vibrant. They were holding Shabbat services, celebrating Passover Seders, and gathering for the high holidays, with chaplains flying in for support. Jewish tradition was literally thriving in the Arctic tundra. And yet, even this organized community wasn't the beginning of the Jewish story in Greenland. Individual pioneers had come long before.
Yep. Before this military community ever existed, some truly remarkable Jewish individuals were drawn to Greenland, and they left behind these stories of just incredible perseverance. These were the true Arctic pioneers.
I want to introduce you to two of them. First, back in the 1920s, there was Fritz Loh, a Jewish scientist who joined the famous Alfred Wegener on a really perilous expedition. Then, decades later, in the 1950s, a nurse named Rita Schweftelowitz arrived from Denmark, basically seeking adventure and a new life.
Fritz Loh's story is one of just sheer survival. While they were trying to reach the center of the Greenland ice sheet, he suffered such severe frostbite that his teammates had to amputate his toes right there on the spot. And they did it using only scissors. It's just a testament to incredible scientific ambition and human endurance.
Now, Rita Schweftelowitz's story is a different kind of survival. It's one of faith and identity. As an Orthodox Jew, she was determined to maintain a kosher lifestyle. In a land with very few options, she adapted, relying on all the local fish she could get. It was a profound act of commitment, preserving her heritage in one of the most isolated places on Earth.
So, let's recap. We've got a modern translator, a Cold War military base, and early 20th century pioneers. But can we go back even further? Well, the answer is a speculative but really fascinating yes.
According to historical research, while there was never a permanent settlement, it's believed that Jewish sailors were among the Dutch whaling crews that frequented Greenland's waters way back in the 16th and 17th centuries. This suggests the history here has deep, if faint, roots stretching back hundreds of years.
When you step back and look at it all, you can see it. It's this single, remarkable thread woven through 400 years of history. It connects those early whalers and their ships, to the scientists surviving on the ice, to the soldiers praying in a makeshift synagogue.
And finally, to the one man who keeps the story alive today in Narsarsuaq.
So this leaves us with a final thought. We started with the number 1, but we discovered a story of 50, of pioneers and of sailors. It really makes you wonder, what truly makes a community? Is it a number in one place at one time, or is it a shared story of identity and resilience? A history etched in ice that simply refuses to be forgotten?